Hey, it's Arn Menconi here, and with all the seriousness going on, I'm just not going to be completely serious. I'll jump around a little bit. It'll be like old time, right? Where we all try to huddle here and figure out what's going on. So, a couple things that I'm thinking about are what are you going to get your friends for the holidays? And you're out of ideas. So here's one. This is simple. The Clash Sandinista album would be very popular for anyone who watches this show. Great hits, great hits. I think the whole family would love Ivan Meets G.I. Joe. I think everybody would love Washington Bullets. That's a big hit. And yeah, and then something else the whole family would probably want to get around, the Christmas tree and not watch cable television. They'll want to watch Racing to Extinction. Racing Extinction. It's Oscar-winning director assembles a team of artists and activists on the undercover operations to expose the hidden world of endangered species and the race to protect them against mass extinction. Another great holiday gift. And then another one is Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States. It's 8 CDs, and it takes you through a Howard Zinn-esque story of how we got to where we are. And let's see, what else do I have here? I have my x-rays of my hip from the car accident I was in 4 weeks ago on the way back from Standing Rock. So, I won't try to appeal to your sort of compassionate, and I don't want to try to emotionally drag you into the fact that I almost died 4 weeks ago in a car crash coming back from Standing Rock, because given how serious Standing Rock is, we have to talk about real serious shit. There's over 10,000 Standing Rock pipelines in North America. There are over 1 million fracking sites in North America. There are, who knows, maybe you do, how many oil drills there are and how many coal mines we've stripped. So if you're watching this, you already know all of this. And you think we're not, Standing Rock? We know we get fucked on Standing Rock. We know that the pipeline's going to go through. And yet this is like Lucy and Charlie Brown all the time with the football. So we have to do something very, very fast and very, very extreme, and one that's safe and easy to do. And to get you to believe me, I'm going to read from Truth Out from December 4th, which is yesterday, and it was by Chris Hedges. And this is down by the end of the second page. So I know no one likes having me read them bedtime stories, so let me start with this one. If you look back in the 1930s, Leon Tolstoy said that fascism was the inability of socialist parties to come forth with an alternative. Get that? Kind of sounds like now. Hudson said, if the socialist parties and media don't come forth with an alternative to this neo-feudalism, you're going to have a rollback to feudalism. Sounds fun, doesn't it? But instead of the military taking over the land, as occurred with the Norman conquest, you take over the land financially. Finance has become the new mode of warfare. You can achieve the takeover of the land and the takeover of the companies by corporate raids, he said. The Wall Street vocabulary is one of conquest and wiping out. You are having a replay in the financial sphere of what feudalism was in the military sphere. So a summary of that is, let's go to solution arm, because I don't like this The solution is boycotting. The solution is boycotting. I've talked about direct actions. I've been in enough direct actions to know that there isn't enough people out there who are willing to do what needs to be done. But say there was 50,000 people in America who would break up into 10 pods and attack some other major type of corporate global mafia. So that would be a bank or series of banks in one location. It would be a pipeline or two. It would be a media area, and it would be something like a pharmaceutical, like Pfizer. And if you did that, if we did that, and the military had to come out, and police forces had to come out, and the amount of money that had to be spent in order to try to stop us, you see, it takes 8 months, and we could do that. 8 months. And look at what has happened with Standing Rock. The presidents of the United States are dealing with it. Everybody's dealing with it, and it's 30 below zero up there. And I live in Colorado, and that is insanely cold weather that these people are dealing with. So how do we grow it? How do we grow it between now and the time when people don't want to put up with this? Just boycott financing, boycott oil and gas, boycott the major food, the agricultural industry, the pharmaceutical companies. Tell your local governments to pull their money out of banks like Wells Fargo, because every local government, every school district, there is over 44,000 school districts in the United States. There's something like 6,500 counties in the United States. There's all these districts and smaller municipalities. If we started to get a localized movement to get people to not just draw up resolutions, but to take money out of their banks and be making this be a part of the conversation, in the next 90 days, it'd have a big effect. So that needs help. From all of you, you need to share these ideas, formulate these ideas. This is what I've seen after I've stopped running for U.S. Senate. As I've watched where things are going in a world where we're going here, a world going from neoliberalism to neo-feudalism. I'm sorry, well, that too, but from neoliberalism to neo-fascism. That's where we're moving to. I underestimated, I guess, the aggregate power of neoliberalism, and no one has a crystal ball and can figure out how that translates into neo-fascism. But we know that means the military is just going to be fiercer. We know that the surveillance state is going to be fiercer. We know that things are going to be deregulated faster. So especially with the Senate, the House, and the presidency all being Republican. I mean, they are going to not even put brakes on the global corporate mafia. And we might think to ourselves as progressives, oh, we put up with George Bush for 8 years and all of that. No. Those are, if you're not out there doing massive amount of activism, boycotting right now, somehow, then I would say, what are you doing right now? I mean, I've been up to Standing Rock. I'm going to New York this week for an arrest that happened at Hofstra University. I think I could put my game up there with anybody's game. And I'm telling you, the thing of boycotting is so powerful. It is so incredibly powerful that boycotting Israel has created such amazing understanding of what's going on to the Palestinian people. Boycotting the apartheid state of South Africa brought around the breaking down of that government. I don't know if it takes, think of it this way, I think it takes around 3 million people to boycott consistently and to message the boycotting. And we have to start with 30 to 300 people right now. So I've been trying to talk about one thing since November 8th. I've been trying to talk about the media's, that we have to realize what's going to happen on January 20th. It is a war against the environment. It is environmental destruction. And we are going to hand this over to our children and our children's children if we don't put everything aside. Anything and everything aside. So when I went up to Standing Rock, myself and others were willing to lay down our lives, thinking that there could have been a change. And I don't think people dying up in Standing Rock is going to bring a change. What's going to bring a change is if we could save lives, boycott, be powerful, and only have to do it for a short time. The hard part is we're going into the holidays. We have family, we have jobs, we have all of the things that are in our life, and we're good at making sacrifices and we're good at understanding this. But going into winter, going into the holidays, whatever we see that stops us, and that's where I would submit that we have to work with each other. And when we work with each other, we become so incredibly powerful. So we have to create priority. And the priority is boycotting in order to save the environment for our children and our children's children, knowing that we've passed the point of no return. With the infrastructure of the fossil fuel industry and the animal agriculture industry in the world today, and with the way capitalism is so powerful, we're in an uphill battle. It's a David and Goliath fight. And David won. So, I'm not running for anything. I'm not asking for your vote. I'm just putting out there, this is what I think we should be doing. And I think that Jill Stein is doing what's called leadership. And I and others could all pick apart whatever we want to pick apart. But Jill Stein was running for president. None of us were running for president. And Jill Stein, who everyone feels has always had the best interest, first and foremost, is making some significant headways on election fraud. And if she is opening up a can of worms for anyone, I could speak for myself. I didn't know that there were 93 precincts in Pennsylvania, 9,300 precincts in Pennsylvania that had to have 3 signature affidavits notarized, handed in for each precinct in order to get a state recount. In Michigan, she was able to get it overturned, so where they're going to do a recount. She's taking it to a federal court level for recounts. People are arguing, where's the money coming from, where the money's going? You're arguing over $7 million, maybe 10, when $6 billion were spent for 2 U.S. president candidates to run after each other. 2 fuckers from the Republican and Democratic Party came up with $6 billion as an industry. And a bunch of other people who don't have any game are complaining about $7 fucking million. So if this game is getting played out beyond the 3 day story, which it has, and it's gone on for almost 2 weeks now, who the fuck cares what the perception looks like if Jill looks like she's in bed with the Democratic Party? All right? I've been in the Democratic Party. I think it is hilarious that people are giving a shit about that. The part that they should be giving a shit about is, does she have the right attorneys? Does she have the right advisors giving her the right information? She doesn't have a campaign war chest. She has Mel with PR, and she has people who believe in her, and she has David Cobb. And then they have hired guns attorney. That's what's going on, folks. All right? So pay attention to that shit. And then figure out what you could do or what's not going on right. Wisconsin's going through a recount. Donald Trump won President of the United States by 90,000 votes. 90 fucking thousand votes. And for a woman who has a PhD from Harvard and who taught at Harvard, if you don't fucking think she could think through this one as best as anyone, which means she has no idea how this could end up. So that's how I feel about that subject. And then the final subject is, what are we doing in foreign intervention? What are we doing with regards to war? And why is it so silent when in the next week or two Congress votes on the omnibus bill and they are passing the defense bills? And Donald Trump is putting more generals on his cabinet than we've seen before. So we have to worry about all the things that we've worried about and prioritize it into, we're going from neoliberalism to neo-fascism. If we look back to what Adam Smith talked about, it's a form of neo-feudalism. And if we want to be fighters for justice, for truth and justice, what are we going to do? And I would submit that we need to get the message out about boycotting faster and harder, because we don't have anything else. And I think with Jill, we should let her lead, because we have a lack of leadership. And this is a time to lead, follow, or get out of the way in a state of emergency in the next 60 to 90 days. In a state of emergency. Because this isn't going to change if we apply the brakes slowly over the next 5 years. Endless war has always been around one shape or other. Financial inequality has been around forever. Racial injustice has been around forever. But global destruction with those three things have never existed before. So you want to ride out the perfect storm? No. Let's get to work. Peace. Spread the love.